Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. While some believe that this is a tale of a fantasy intended for children, filled with fantastical magical beasts and more spells than you can wave a wand at, it is apparent when one watches it from a psychologist's point of view that it is actually a tale of schizophrenia told from the patient's point of view. For it is obviously much simpler for one boy to have hallucinations of magic than it is for us to have a large hole in our physical model of the universe and not have noticed it until now.
Excuse me?
In the movie, the first obvious symptoms of schizophrenia occur when Harry takes a trip with his family to the zoo. They all look at a Burmese python, but grow tired of it due to its lack of movement. Harry, however, lingers a while, and, in a desperate attempt to feel some connection in the world, addresses the snake.
Sorry about him. He doesn't understand what it's like, lying there day after day, watching people press their ugly faces in on you.
While this normally could have therapeutic value, the extent to which Harry takes it is definitely troublesome, as he believes the snake can understand him and begins having a conversation with it.
Can you hear me? It's just, I've never talked to a snake before. Do you talk to people often? You're from Burma, aren't you? Was it nice there? Do you miss your family? I see. That's me as well. I never knew my parents either.
His cousin Dudley sees the snake moving, and, being the brute that he is, knocks Harry to the floor, but also wisely calls for his aunt and uncle to come have a look at Harry. The push to the ground seems to send Harry further into a psychotic state, however, as he then hallucinates that the glass vanishes, causing Dudley to fall into the tank, thus allowing Harry to get the revenge that he is denied by social constraints. The snake that goes on to terrorize the other patrons of the zoo, stopping only to say, "Thanks," to Harry, thus marking him as special and feeding his delusions of grandeur. We can also assume that this isn't Harry's first psychotic episode, as his Uncle Vernon warns him before they depart for the zoo.
I'm warning you now, boy. Any funny business, any at all, and you won't have any meals for a week. Giddy.
Upon their return from the zoo, Vernon locks Harry in the cupboard under the stairs that doubles as his room, and we assume that his threatened punishment begins. Then Harry begins to hallucinate that owls are bringing him letters. It is far more likely that these letters are from a social worker who found out that Harry lives under the stairs, which is usually frowned upon. This would explain why Uncle Vernon does not want Harry reading the letters, although this fact could also be explained by a paranoid delusion on Harry's behalf. The former is more likely, however, as it explains why Uncle Vernon shouts,
"That's it! We're going away! Far away! Where they can't find us!"
as well as why he buys a gun, but more on that later. It is also important to note that Uncle Vernon's reaction to the letters could be a sign of a shared psychotic episode, which would be further supported by Dudley exclaiming,
Daddy's gone mad, hasn't he?
This possibility is impossible to confirm or disprove, however, since we can only experience this world through Harry's mind. A final thing of interest. The increasing number of letters could be Harry's way of representing the more and more determined attempts by the social worker to reach him. Uncle Vernon then takes the family to a shack in the middle of the sea, and it is here where Harry truly begins to break with reality. He hallucinates that a giant of a man breaks down the door and then immediately fixes it. In all likelihood, this man is the social worker who has been trying to rescue Harry. It's this idea into a large physical presence befitting of an archetype of a fixer and a protector. Uncle Vernon then attempts to bully Hagrid with the gun he bought earlier, but Hagrid will have none of it and bends the gun 90 degrees upward, thus further cementing his status as a protector, as well as symbolizing the end of the tyranny of Uncle Vernon to Harry. Hagrid then proceeds to tell Harry,
"You're a wizard, Harry."
which allows Harry to explain away all of his past psychotic episodes as mere manifestations of his wizardly power.
Did you ever make anything happen? Anything you couldn't explain when you were angry or scared?
Hagrid also informs Harry that his parents were not killed in a car crash as he was previously told. This is most likely because this is too mundane of an explanation to stick with Harry's rapidly developing grandiose personality. Hagrid will later tell Harry that the wizard who killed his parents was the greatest evil wizard of his age, and the only person he failed to kill was Harry. This attempt on Harry's life also robbed him of his powers and body, and possibly his life. This obviously is another delusion of grandeur, as it marks Harry out as being even more special than a simple wizard, and elevates him to the level of major historical significance. Harry also hallucinates that he has a bank vault with a pile of gold as tall as he is, further adding to his delusions of grandeur by making him believe that he is rich. Oh, and he hallucinates that goblins are real. Harry's advanced psychotic state is probably a result of the trauma of losing his parents at a young age, followed by the abuse at the hands of his aunt, uncle, and cousin, as evidenced by the fact that his room is under the stairs, that Dudley pushes him down at the zoo without being reprimanded, and that his punishments are along the lines of,
And you won't have any meals for a week.
Harry was unable to rationalize why all these terrible things were happening to him, and therefore suffered a psychotic break, thus placing his locus of control on a set of external forces far beyond his influence, as well as allowing him to confront these forces and emerge victorious. The best course of treatment for Harry would probably be antipsychotics, along with a support system, preferably one other than his abusive family, to ensure that he stays on them, as the side effects can be rather nasty, thus causing many schizophrenic patients to stop taking them.
Watermelon. You're a wizard, Harry.
Sunshine. Watermelon.
You're a wizard, Harry.